Welcome to the US Deep Agenda channel. The heavy losses inflicted on the Russians by the Ukrainian warriors are beginning to become evident. At least 30% of the Russian population is in favor of an immediate end to the war against Ukraine, and more than half of the youth are against the war, while the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation refuses to make a clear statement about the losses in the Russian army, the losses which become evident in the direction of the American, British, and Ukrainian intelligence indicate a huge stalemate. A senior US defense official said on Friday that the Russian military has suffered a total of hundreds of casualties every day in the war in Ukraine, including thousands of lieutenants and captains. In addition to the killed lieutenants and captains, hundreds of colonels and many Russian generals were killed. This was stated by the officials on condition of anonymity. No matter how large the Russian army is, raising hundreds of colonels and thousands of lieutenants can take decades of training. This shows what the Russians really lost. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the Russian army has lost about 40,000 soldiers since the beginning of the invasion, and more than 120,000 were wounded. Meanwhile, CIA Director William Burns said on Wednesday that the United States estimates Russian casualties in Ukraine have so far reached about 15,000 deaths and 45,000 injured. British defense staff previously reported that the Russian army had lost 50,000 soldiers since the beginning of the invasion. Anthony Rodaki emphasized that Moscow has lost more than 30% of its combat capability on the ground and a significant amount of equipment, about 1,700 tanks and about 4,000 armed fighting vehicles. According to the Institute for the Study of War Data, the Kremlin has ordered the regions of the Russian Federation to begin forming so-called volunteer battalions to be sent to the war in Ukraine. The Kremlin does not want to publicize even partial mobilization, and the secret mobilization does not produce results, so the regions were instructed to start forming volunteer battalions. According to the Russian media, the Russians are offered a salary of $3,750 for a 6-month contract. Such battalions are formed in the Kursk region, Primorsky Krai, Republic of Bashkortostan, Republic of Chuvashia, Chechnya, the Republic of Tatarstan, the city of Moscow, Perm, Nizhny Novgorod, and Orenburg and Tuhman regions. Experts conclude that if each region can find at least 400 people willing to go to war, Russia can get about 34,000 soldiers. Journalists accessed a closed survey of the All-Russian Center for Public Opinion Research, the results of which reflected the negative attitude of the significant number of Russians toward the war against Ukraine. 30% of the population is in favor of an immediate end to the war against Ukraine, and more than half of the youth are against the war. At the end of June, a closed survey was conducted by the order of the Presidential Administration of the Russian Federation. The Russians were asked some way that the war in Ukraine must be stopped as soon as possible. Others believe that the war should not be stopped now. Which point of view is closer to you, first or second? As can be seen from the result, 30% of the Russians believe that the conflict in Ukraine should be stopped as soon as possible, while 13% could not answer. 57% were in favor of the war. It is noteworthy that in the 18 to 24 age group, 56% favor discontinuation and only 19% continue. A slightly older category of Russians, 25 to 34 years old, 43% support the immediate end of the war, 41% supports the continuation of hostilities. As can be seen from the results, the elderly supports the war. For example, among respondents over the age of 60, 72% of respondents favored continued occupation. It is also characteristic that in the big cities that are more supporters of war, in the countryside the majority is in favor of peace. The Kremlin was also interested in the opinion of the television audience. While 68% of television lovers supported the war, only 35% of the Russians who received information from the internet supported the war. As sociologist Grigory Yudin comments on the results, this is a battle of the elders and security guards who want to lock down the country in the past. These were the results of a poll conducted by the All-Russian Center for Public Opinion at the request of the Kremlin. The lawyer of the anti-war activist Cengiz Mustafina said that on June 28, in Kirov, the Oktyabrsky District Court dismissed the administrative case against discrediting the Russian armed forces. Article 20.3.3 of the Administrative Offenses Code of the Russian Federation. Cengiz Mustafa went to the anti-war protest in clothes decorated with blue and yellow ribbons. The court did not consider it a crime. On June 27, the court issued a similar decision on activists Polina Mukachiva, Svetlana Marina, and Anna Kulipina. Russian police defended the court that on April 2nd, Kirov activists went to a protest rally in the theater square in the city center. Russians protested the war in Ukraine by wearing yellow, blue, and green ribbons on their clothes and hairstyles. The police prepared a report specifically on an administrative violation where Polina Mukachiva allegedly wore a green ribbon in her hair and therefore protested the war. The police arrested the activists and held an interrogation at Kirov's Leninsky District Internal Affairs Department. Tapes of material evidence were taken from the Russians. Police forced activist Polina Mukachiva to open her hair braid and measure the green satin ribbon with a ruler. The protocols are absolutely ridiculous. According to the logic of the police, even clothing is against the law. If you have a green hat, then you are taking an anti-war stance, said the activist lawyer Inna Koshleeva. The Nenovia Telegram channel also reported that a court in Samara acquitted the anti-war activist Mikhail Podsitnikov. The cops convinced the judge that he was chanting "No to war" along with the other townspeople. Also, the wives of the Russian military went out to protest and recorded a video message to the head of Buryatia, Alexei Saidanov. The women are demanding that the Russian authorities return their husbands home from the war in Ukraine. Women who said that their military spouses went to excuse in January 2022 and are currently at war in Ukraine said. Since February 24, our husbands have been participating in a special operation, mentally and physically tired. They all have the mild to moderate concussion. Russian women complain that their husbands have been in military field conditions for 4 months. Many of them get sick. In addition, the fact that the Russian media did not publish a true picture of what happened in the war in Ukraine caught the attention of women. Protesters blame Russian propagandists for the death of every soldier in an unjust war. The women demand that the Russian authorities return their sons and husbands to their homes. The spouses of the army from the 5th Tank Tank Brigade expressed their demands in the video. According to the official figures of the Russian authorities, the loss of the Tatsinki Brigade is 30 people. According to Sibir Really, 184 military deaths were confirmed from Buryatia by mid-June. Buryatia ranks second among the regions of Russia in terms of the number of deaths in the war in Ukraine. The Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation does not comment on this data. Early in the morning of February 24, Russia began an extensive invasion of Ukraine. The Russian armed forces attacked simultaneously in several directions to seize Kiev. Russian President Vladimir Putin has described the war as a special operation with minimizing and disarmament among its objectives. Ukraine succeeded in repelling Russian troops and stabilizing the front line. The European Union, the United States, and the United Kingdom began imposing sweeping sanctions on Russia, making it the country with the record numbers of restrictions. In addition, Ukraine began to acquire Western weapons to fight against the invaders. The coalition of countries supplying arms to Ukraine met 3 times in Ramstein to agree on new supplies. Now, while Ukraine has been completely attacked, the Russian army cannot heal the wounds it received in 5 months and continues to suffer heavy losses.